by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
California is gearing up for another day of wild weather after a week of mudslides, high winds, flooding, and even rock slides. I'm Mark Liverman with the latest on that storm and others about to pound the Midwest and Northeast.
I'm Emma Hamilton reporting from Bozeman, and I'll have the city's plowing plans coming up next.
6:29 on this Thursday. Chelly and Missy O'Malley with you there. Talk about plowing plans. California gearing up for another day of wild weather.
That's right. This after a week of those mudslides, high winds, flooding, and even rock slides. CBS's News' Mark Liverman shows us some of that impact.
Smashed in metal on the side of this car, the damage after a terrifying night in Malibu, where recent wildfires have left the area prone to mudslides.
Well, I was driving and 4 cars in front of me. This boulder comes down and smacks into this car.
Public Works says the rock weighed between 2 and 3 tons. The victim here taken to a local hospital with a minor head injury. Same story in Northern California, also hit by wildfire. Also now poised for increased damage as heavy rain pounds the region. Evacuations were ordered in Ventura County. Officials set up sandbag locations to redirect stormwater and debris away from homes. In some areas, the winds were so fierce, workers could barely keep their umbrellas together. The powerful Pacific storm also brought heavy snow to mountain regions, which led to this.
Well, at approximately 9 o'clock this morning, we had a 25-car pileup.
And for a second time this week, powerful snowstorms will hammer parts of the Midwest with potentially blizzard conditions. 2 storms will then make their way towards the Northeast this weekend, where more than a foot of snow could fall from Northeast Pennsylvania up through northern New England. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, how much the storm will impact travel in the big cities like New York and D.C. still depends on the storm's track. Some models call for snow, while others are predicting mostly rain. Wow, Matt Joyce is now. Talk about some extreme weather. Whoa.
Yet another sales point for Montana's Chamber of Commerce to stay right here.
That's right.
That's it.
We are talking snow across the area, not only here, but down in parts of Idaho, and that's where we're seeing some of this snow trying to work its way back in. Temperatures into the early part of the morning, pretty quiet, into the teens and 20s for most of us. Most of the snow that we're going to see is going to come through the mid to late morning and then again into the afternoon and evening. I think we're seeing mainly light flurries for the area as you head into the day today, especially for the valley regions. The mountains obviously picking up more. We'll talk more about your complete forecast, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Now, coming up on 6:32, a lot of people have been talking about the lack of snow that we've had so far this winter.
Yeah, MTN's Carson Vickery shows us what we've seen so far and what might be causing that dry spell.
Judging by how dry the Bridger Mountains are behind me here, it's obvious that we are lacking a little bit of snowfall for this time of year. But the truth is, we're really not doing too bad. We're actually above average for the season at Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport in Belgrade by just over an inch. However, since meteorological winter started on December 1st, we're down nearly 2.5 inches so far. That's because sinking air from recent high-pressure systems have prevented strong winter storms from forming and has provided warmer weather that has melted away at the snowpack. This recent dry spell is starting to show in the snow water equivalent readings across western Montana, or the percentage of water in our snowpack to where we should be at this time of year, where all of the region is below normal. These readings aren't uncommon for an El Nino year here in Montana, where the state usually sees a warmer and drier than normal winter. However, NOAA hasn't confirmed yet that we are seeing an El Nino this year. The good news is we still have the rest of winter and most of spring to make up for some lost snowfall totals here in the mountains. However, if it remains dry, it could have serious implications on how severe our fire season's going to be and also our water supply for the summer and fall months. In Bozeman, meteorologist Carson Vickery, MTN News.
By the way, just so you know, meteorological winter runs through the end of February. If you've been here long enough to know, though, we should see plenty of opportunities for snow after that date. Clear into July, maybe.
Yeah, let's hope so. Now, with more snow on the way, staying on topic, people who plow our streets will be plenty busy. But what exactly is the protocol for plowing? Which streets get plowed first? MTN's Emma Hamilton has our answer.
The plowing crews begin their 3 a.m. shift in November once leaf cleanup is complete.
That's where we have 8 people doing 8 routes every day, 3 a.m. If it's not snowing, like this morning, they were actually out sweeping and checking for potholes and doing work like that.
Snow can cause delayed travel time, slippery roadways, accidents, and fender benders. But what exactly is the City of Bozeman's plowing strategy when we get this winter weather? The city has to get 4 inches of snow or more for the plows to go through residential areas during a storm.
We want to get the arterials and collectors. We want to, once you get out of your neighborhood, we want you to safely be able to get to work, to school, maybe to the hospital. So that's where we concentrate our resources first, and then we'll go into the residentials. And it's usually, I would say on the average, about 3 days after a snowstorm.
The City of Bozeman plows 250 miles of city streets. North 19th, 7th, North Rouse, Main Street, and Huffine Lane are state roadways and are plowed and maintained by the Montana Department of Transportation. Now, if we compare this winter to our snowy winter last year, it's been a rather dry winter for us so far. And that's saving the city on sand and fuel costs as of right now. But this is Montana, and we know Mother Nature could give us any type of weather at any time. In Bozeman, Emma Hamilton, MTN News.
Now, if you'd like to see a map of where the city does plow, head on over to our websites.
We talked about this story earlier in the show. A pilot who crashed his plane in the Missouri River outside of Townsend last night, not injured. That's according to Broadwater County Sheriff Wynn Meehan. The sheriff says his office received reports of the crash around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Deputies discovered the plane. There you can see it upside down in a sandbar in the river.
And all it was is he was trying to land on that gravel bar down there, and he hit the soft sand, and it just basically sunk and tipped him over on top. And so for the most part, the plane's really not in that bad a shape.
Other than it's upside down. After he crashed, Meehan says the man was actually able to call his brother to come pick him up in a different plane. The video from the sheriff's office, you can see that white plane take off from the sandbar. Sheriff says it was something he hadn't seen before.
All of a sudden, here comes a plane, and he comes in, he does a fly around, and he comes down and lands on that island, and I was like, oh my Lord. So they loaded him up and his gear and took off, and it was quite interesting.
Oh my Lord is right. This is the second plane crash that happened in the area in just 14 days. According to Sheriff Meehan, the two happened just about a mile away from each other, both on the Missouri River, and then of course one successful landing and rescue on the Missouri River.
Unbelievable. We don't mean to laugh, but it's amazing that they're okay, but what an amazing story. In other news, we're going to switch gears to the mining city. A 30-year-old Butte man has been charged in connection with sending sexually explicit photos to a minor. Police say Cody Allen Eaton is charged with sexual abuse of children for sending inappropriate photos through his cell phone to a person under the age of 16 and attempting to entice that person for sexual contact. The incident happened in Butte between January 9th and last Tuesday. Eaton is in jail on a $250,000 bond.
Another news, single car crash in Bozeman around 11:30 yesterday morning caused traffic to be backed up for a good part of the afternoon. Law enforcement says 26-year-old Shannon O'Malley was headed westbound near the intersection of 19th and Durston when she crashed her SUV into a utility box, rolled it once. The lights at the intersection were out for several hours due to that crash. O'Malley arrested for aggravated DUI at the scene after failing a breath test. She is in custody. Neither she nor her male passenger were injured in that one vehicle crash.
And U.S. Representative Greg Gianforte held a telephone town hall meeting last night. Gianforte's spokesman says those on the phone call want the shutdown to end and for the border security to be resolved. The congressman asked several survey questions. Border security is the #1 issue, followed out by control spending and health care. 97% responded that Congress should not be paid if the government isn't open. 57% thought President Trump should talk about border security and immigration in his State of the Union address, and Gianforte says he supports the president. Congressman Greg Gianforte also says that he's encouraged that there is less animosity and divisiveness, and then the reported concerning the government shutdown. So more to follow on that. We're on day 27. We'll continue to follow. Right. Stay with us. It's time for a break. Next, details of an incredible show, Women of Winter, featuring a Warren Miller film athlete, a pro female skier, and a talented mixed media artist coming together to talk about overcoming fear and capturing your creativity. This happens tomorrow night in Bozeman. We have everything you need to know about that autograph signing and those presentations.
But first, we're going to check in with Nora O'Donnell, see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning ahead here on CBS This Morning. Our Charlie D'Agata is on the front lines in Syria in the war against ISIS, just a day after 4 Americans were killed. Why the deadly bombing may signify a bigger issue as U.S. troops prepare to withdraw. And did you take part in the 10-year challenge on social media? We'll discuss the risks and what you should know about the data you may be unintentionally sharing. Let's see right at 7.